Well, we're going back to the bullpen once again with myself and Mike Stanton. We're going to talk about this recent homestand the Astros had, and we're also going to look ahead to their West Coast trip, maybe talk about some names. Just a couple things going on around the league here in Major League Baseball. Let's get back to the bullpen right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right. We are back to the bullpen. I'm H.L. Wheelhouse, and he's Mike Stanton. Look, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on Instagram, on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check us out on X and Spotify. You can even get us on iHeartRadio. You can find me at H.L. Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me and Mike both at Back to the Bullpen on X and on Instagram. And you can also find me at Stros411 on X and on Facebook, where I'm always positive, always Stros. Mike, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, there's only one place you can find me, and that's going to be on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Stanton 29.
That's right. There you go. I mean, look, it's easy. I know for me, I am probably on social media way too much, and you have probably a better work-life balance than when it comes to social media than I do. But you know what? I'll hold the fort down on the social media side, and I think everything will be okay. I don't think you're going to lose any sleep over not being involved in social media as much as I am.
No, probably not. If I haven't lost sleep already, I'm not going to lose sleep now.
Yeah, that's right. And heck, I mean, you were in the league. I mean, you could even go back to someone who's in the league 5 years ago.
Sure.
And it was simpler. I mean, you didn't have, volatile reactions. You didn't have, oh, look, we heard this guy say this thing on the field and it goes viral.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely
something you said. Some player said years ago that some troll has gone through and looked it up, and now you have to answer questions or whatever. It's kind of ridiculous.
It is. It's a little intrusive, but it is. I guess for me, it's a necessary evil. But hey, this homestand, Mike, really could have been a 5-1 homestand or a 4-2 homestand. They end up 3-3. Not bad. 500.
Yeah.
You did win the series versus the Cardinals. You didn't really gain any ground, but you didn't really lose any ground either. They're very fortunate to be in the AL West, aren't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the worst division in all of baseball. The reason why at 6 or 7, I think it's 7 games under 500, we're even still talking about it, is because they're in the West, which, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It doesn't matter what it is. That's the situation. And so what are you going to do? They need to just keep quiet. We keep talking about winning series, and that's what they need to do. They won this series against St. Louis. Unfortunately, they weren't able to sweep. That would have helped, but hey, you got to move on, get them back on the road, because we know how good they've played on the road in the past.
So, when we look at Ronel Blanco started out hot. His last 2 starts, he's given up the same amount of hits, the same amount of runs. The 2 starts before this, he did have 6 strikeouts. He only had 2 strikeouts today.
Mm-hmm.
He did have 14 swings and misses. It wasn't a horrible game, but it wasn't what we had seen out of Ronel Blanco. Talk about that from a pitcher's perspective. I mean, he started hot, right?
Yeah.
Is there some leveling?
Is
there some leveling of that as a pitcher, or just as a fan? Should we maybe not expect our players to maybe go 15-0 on the season? Are you saying he couldn't have done that, or how do we look at this?
Well, I mean, he could have,
right,
and we would have sung his praises, all the way to American League Cy Young. But
right,
that's not realistic. I mean, the season that Justin Verlander had a couple years ago, where he did not have one blow up start. I don't think he gave up more than 3 runs in any start.
I remember that.
That's an aberration. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't matter how good you are, how hard you throw. Somebody's going to get you at some point. And that's what I'm seeing from Blanco, is that, he's just kind of cooled off a little bit. Is he making any more mistakes? Probably not. Is his stuff any different? Probably not. But it's just one of those situations that, the offense, those dudes have a stick too. They have a bat. They're up there trying to get their job done. They have a good job to do also. And, it's not like he's getting blown out. I mean, he gave up 4 runs today. I mean,
Right.
that's something that happens. And, with this Astros offense, 4 runs should be enough. But, to expect him to go out there, and I'm not even going to say it. Well, I guess I am going to say it, throw a no-hitter or one-hitter,
Right.
that's not realistic. He kept the team in the game. And, that's really the key. The one thing I have noticed over his last couple starts, the usage of his changeup has really subsided. And, that was the big pitch that made him so good early in the season. Now, is this by game plan? It could be. Whoever you're pitching against, the other lineup has a lot to do with the pitch selection that you're throwing. And maybe the game plan was to go more with the slider. I just feel like, personally, I think that he, as good as his slider is, and that was, prior to this year, that was his go-to pitch really in every situation. He actually threw more sliders than he did anything else. And he was only a 2-pitch pitcher with the fastball. But I feel like there are more mistakes made with his slider. And listen, I've got no numbers to back this up. This is just my own, optical observation without, digging in deep into the data. But it just seems like to me that the slider, there's a few more mistakes with the slider than there is with the changeup.
Yeah, no, the changeup was really one of basically the linchpin in that no-hitter. I was actually at that game.
Sure.
And, it was
early. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but early in the season, he was going basically a third fastball, a third slider, a third changeup. And today he was almost 50% fastballs. And again, the other lineup has something to do with it. He was like 46% or somewhere, almost 50% fastball. He was in the mid 30s in sliders. He only threw 16 changeups, but that's a trend that I've noticed over his last couple starts, is that changeup usage does seem to be reducing.
No, yeah, definitely. And when you start diving into the individual pitch numbers, it's really, it can be eye-opening if you look into that. And I don't have the splits right in front of me, but on those 14 swings and misses, that's why I love going to like Baseball Savant. And for those of us who are fans who had never played the major league game, it helps us get a more of a major league understanding. Oh, look, this is why this pitch was working against this lineup. If you go and look at their numbers against this pitch, oh, I see, that's why they were missing that. And so it really is a dichotomy of not only what the pitcher's prep is, but also there's more footage on Ronel Blanco too. And so if this lineup is more susceptible to be able to hit that changeup, and they know, hey, this guy goes to the changeup, then Ronel's like, what's the counter to that?
Right. Well, I think you saw that when you go back to the Oakland start several starts ago, that was the first time we saw him kind of go back to the heavy slider usage. And, that I think that was the game plan, that, okay, this dude's got a good changeup. He's throwing it a lot. Let's see if we can lay off of it. And he made the adjustment and went somewhere else. Well, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. That's actually a solid game plan, but you still got to use it. And as far as the swing and miss, he had 14 swing and misses. He had 5 on the fastball. He had 6 on the slider. He had 3 on the changeup. But like I said, he only threw like 15 or 16 changeups. So the percentage of swing and miss on that pitch was actually much higher. But I just feel like when he throws a lot of sliders, on occasion, there's just an extra miss in there. But it looked like the game plan today was to go with a little bit more of the fastball. And again, you can't really badmouth him. He gave up 4 runs. Okay, that's not a bad start.
Exactly.
And with the way this team played in the first 2 games, you would have expected them to be able to score more than 4 runs.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give Michaelis his flowers. He did a phenomenal job today.
Smoke and mirrors. He only had 3 swing and misses all day long. That was incredible. But a lot of weak contact. I mean, he throws anything and everything. He throws it all in different counts. And so the Astros, I mean, there were no strikeouts today, but there just wasn't a whole lot of solid contact.
No, there wasn't. And what's funny about Jeremy Pena? His 2 hits were both infield grounders. And the first one, he had a sprint speed of 30.2 miles per hour. It's his fastest time. Let me tell you, this guy hustles. He went out there. I don't know if you saw him tag up on the fly ball. I was like, what is he doing tagging up there? Like, apparently he saw a report on the center fielder's arm because it was in center field. How many times do you see a guy tag up from first to second on a hit to center field? Yeah. You don't see that very often.
No, but that's how in-depth the scouting report and the data that they get from upstairs, that's how in-depth it is. That all the outfielders are rated. If he's moving to his left, he throws better than when he moves to his right. They know all this stuff. And it's just a matter of, can you recall it? So they can't look at all the data.
Right.
Back when AJ Hinch was the manager, we had a discussion one time, and he said, the first day of a series, I mean, I spend most of the day going through the data, and it may be this thick for a 3-game series. Now it's everything: offense, defense, their pitchers, all the above. But, he said, I need to go through it, figure out what we're going to use, talk to my coaches about it. What are we going to give to the players? Because you can't give it all. Because the paralysis by analysis statement is 100% true. You get everybody thinking too much, they're not going to be able to perform.
Yeah, exactly. And, speaking about that, I love what I'm seeing this year out of Yainer Diaz when it comes to getting hot. Because this is what's interesting. In May last year, he had a drop off, or in May in his career, he drops off, but he picks things back up in June. And it seems like in June is when he kind of starts to heat up, or when he's going to be heating up. And 3 home runs in 3 days. We talked about him last podcast.
Yeah.
And he is a first-year starting catcher. He's catching someone like Justin Verlander for the first time, a perennial Hall of Famer. He's got a mixture of new guys and veterans, and he's dealing with guys going down with injury. And so now he's throwing to more, or he's thrown behind the plate with more pitchers that he's not familiar with. Just like Nick Hernandez, who the Astros got back. The Astros traded to San Diego for cash considerations in 2022.
Right.
They got him back for cash considerations this year, and he actually was drafted out of U of H, and he made his debut today. He pitched an inning, and he did a great job. But I think if Yainer gets his stuff together at the plate, because he's been grinding so hard and working so hard. And one of the things, I don't know if you noticed this, the other day when he hit the home run in the Space City game, the first person out of the dugout, Jose Altuve. And Jose Altuve was jumping like a dad jumps for his son when he hits his first home run, right?
Yeah.
He went bananas. And the team rallying around him, I think, and tell me about this from a pitcher's perspective. If your catcher is hitting well and he's a good hitting catcher, that probably takes pressure off of him and helps him focus more on game plans and probably be better prepared as a catcher.
You know what, that reaction from Jose and the rest of the bench, what that tells me is these guys know how hard he's working. Yeah. That it is not a situation that he is just, resting on his laurels. I'm the starting catcher. Mm-hmm. Offense doesn't matter. I'm just here to work the pitching staff. No, that's not, that's who Martin Maldonado was. That is not, That is not Diaz. So I look at him and I go, this means that he's really been working hard, and the guys have noticed. And it's good to see him. It's good to see him get rewarded, for the work that he's putting in. But you got to remember, this is a big time change in his job description, going from backup catcher to starting catcher.
True.
Last year, that was about learning the system. That was about learning the data. That was about, building your rapport with your pitching staff. Well, the problem is the pitching staff has almost completely changed. With the injuries that they've had, the new guys that they've had to bring in, even the bullpen, you're missing 4 or 5 relievers from last year. So there was a lot of work he had to do in spring, and now the work has just continued. But it's good to see him swing with a little bit more confidence. You're starting to see a lot more bat speed. He's been swinging out of the zone quite a bit, prior to this series. But with the success that he's having now, that should get better. The confidence is growing, and as the confidence grows, the quality of at bat's going to grow.
Yeah, definitely. Here next, I want to move to just talk about the month of June as a whole, because I think the Astros have a golden opportunity this month. Because basically, for them to get to 85 wins or whatever, they have to win like 60 games, or to get to 88 wins. I mean, they've got to win a lot of games. I honestly think between 85 and 87 wins this division. I really don't think
if it doesn't, you are going to be right there. I do not believe that there's definitely not a 92 win season
right
in this division, and 90 maybe even be stretching it. So I think that, you talk about upper 80s. If you're not winning the division, you're playing for it in that last week.
Exactly. Yeah, you are definitely. So you look, Mike is wearing our shirt from Ram Shirts. Mine is actually drying. Mike has got his. Mike, you know what? You can tell out of us who is the professional pitcher and who wasn't. You're definitely prepared. He's done his homework. But seriously, the shirt's comfortable. It's affordable. And go to Ram Shirts. Not just our shirt, not just Back to the Bullpen, but there's other local Houston.
Oh yeah.
Houston celebrities that got shirts on there.
He's got them all covered.
Teresa Rockface, he's got Jeff Blum, he's got Julie Morales. So we're kind of lumped in with these, we're kind of one of the cool kids, I feel like, because they do such quality work there at Ram Shirts. So there is.
Say one of the cool. We are the cool kids.
Well, we are the cool kids, right? Yeah. Well, I don't want to.
You were a teacher of the year. Come on.
Well, no, runner up.
Oh,
I was runner up. See.
So runner up. You know what that means? That means first loser.
Yeah, that's right. Which actually I think I won in that, because the teacher of the year always has to do all these, you have to teach all these extra sessions.
There you go.
You have to go back to school early. So there is kind of a catch-22 there. But right there is the QR code to grab our shirt. Also, state-of-the-art barbershop. Check out Ever. Hey, Ever and I took in a game this last week. It was great. We had a lot of fun.
I saw the post. Yeah,
you did. Yeah. No, and I've actually got some stuff that I haven't put together yet, but I'll put together some scenes from that game, and I'll throw that up there on YouTube. Go to 1616 South Friendswood Drive to get yourself ready to go out on that date, or go to the next Astros game, or whatever it is. Family barbecue. Ever will have you covered, whether it's your beard, whether it's a hairstyle. They got you covered. So check out State of the Art Barbershop. They do a great job. This last week, and I would say it's rare, but these days it almost seems like an everyday occurrence. How many times do you think a club goes, maybe like 2 weeks ago, they say, you know what, we're pretty confident with our pitcher and that he's going to return. And then 2 weeks later, he's one of 2 guys that are going to go have surgery on their elbow. And they actually didn't even say whether it was Tommy John or not specifically. So they said, we'll know once we get in there. And I'm like, ooh, that doesn't sound good at all. So both Javier and Urquidy go down. And it's not like you've really been depending on Urquidy, because he really hasn't been there this year.
Right.
But Javier, when they came up with the stiff neck, I'm like, my first comment was, can we get these guys some better pillows? Because it seems like a crick in the neck is kind of a common theme with Astros pitchers.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they need to fire the hotel pillow vendor, but whatever's going on there. And it ended up not being his neck. It ended up being, gosh, 2 guys go down. That's tough. And I mean, so the Astros right now, they got more pressure on them, but after those things were announced, they played 2 really good games. So, I mean, maybe they're extra motivated. I don't know, Mike.
Well, I mean, when something like this happens and you're a member of the team and this was a big blow. I mean, because you were hoping to count on Jose Urquidy and you were absolutely counting on Christian Javier.
Right.
But so what this happens is you have to guard against, when you're on the team is everyone trying to do more. Okay. Because you can only do what you can do. And a lot of times when you try and do more, you end up doing less. And, even with the trials and tribulations that this team has gone through, they still have the talent to do this. Now, it's taken them a long time. I warned everyone at the beginning of the season that, you can't win the division in April, but you can lose the division in April. They haven't lost it, but they sure have dug themselves a hole, and they're still trying to get out of that hole.
Right.
We've been talking for several weeks how they've been playing better baseball, and that is true. But when you're 12 games under twice this season, that's a deep hole. And, we started off this podcast talking about how they're lucky to be in the West, and they are, because they are still relevant. They still have a chance here, but it's just so much energy to dig out of a hole that they've dug.
It is. And it seems like every time you take 2 steps forward, you take 1 step back. And that's where you really have to make sure that
That's the winning of series. Unfortunately, yeah, you would love to do it all in a couple weeks, just go on a long winning streak or, win 10 of 12 or something like that.
Right.
Those things don't happen all that often. And the problem is what happens when the streak is over. What happens, so I just think it's one of those things. Yes, it takes a lot longer time in order for them to come back. And I'm not saying that they're out there, we won 2 today, we can lose today. That's not what they do. But it's the consistency of play. And, today, even though Blanco got the loss, he gave up 4 runs. The score was only 4-2. They lit a bloop and a blast, and they were right back in this game. So, he did his job when he didn't have his best stuff. But as far as the depth of this pitching staff, it took a hit. There's no doubt about it. I know we keep talking about Luis Garcia coming back, and we keep talking about Lance McCullers Jr. coming back. They're not imminent. They're not right around the corner. Hopefully they're, July or the All-Star break or maybe even August. But they're going to have to tread water. And they're not going to have to tread water. They're going to have to actually do better than that, over the heat of the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the things that I think is going to help them is Jeremy Pena. And when I look at his numbers, also when I look at his at bats, last year the book was out on him. Throw him a slider down and away. Throw him a slider anywhere. He's going to swing and miss it.
Yeah. He
went down and got a slider 2 games ago and produced an RBI out of it. Kept his head on kept his eyes on the ball. Put the barrel of the bat on the ball. And ended up producing something productive. And Jeremy Pena, when you go through and you look at his various situations with 1 out, with 2 outs, or whether you're looking at whether he's, right now batting second, he's hitting 375, batting 6, he's batting 354, batting 8th, he's batting 368. Leading off, he's only batting 242, but you put him pretty much anywhere in the lineup, and he's hitting the baseball. He's had a resurgent year. He's made great plays defensively and really continues to, he's the guy that replaced Carlos Correa. He's the guy that replaced the guy that was number 1 because he was picked number 1, that everyone assumed that Correa and Altuve would end their career together.
Yeah.
But now you have Jeremy Pena making stabs, making grabs, and hitting home runs again. He's going to be a big part of their June. Mike, the only real series I'm worried about is the Orioles series, but Jeremy Pena is going to be key for this June run.
There was so much talk early in the season in spring training about the adjustments he's made, the corrections he made in his swing. Well, actually, he didn't do anything to his swing. It was all about his setup and his load, and he just got much quieter. Now, does
Right.
that have anything to do with the success that he's having right now? Well, the only one that can actually tell us that is Jeremy. But what you're seeing is a player that is just much more selective. He's not swinging at that slider down and away nearly as much. He's letting the pitcher make a mistake. And then when he does that, now you're seeing a much more aggressive hitter that with more bat speed. And, that all comes from, listen, when you make the pitcher throw strikes, your success rate is going to go up tenfold. Pitchers don't usually get hitters out, especially strikeout, with pitches in the zone. They get ahead in the count, then they expand. They make pitches look like strikes, and then they're not strikes. And that's where Jeremy was having the biggest issue with that slider down and away. Just too much of early committal and just swinging before he's really recognizing the pitch. But he's made those adjustments. The game has slowed down in his head. You're seeing the confidence that he's had all season long, and it's consistent. That's what you like. It's not that he puts up numbers. It's that he's putting up numbers consistently, and that's when you're really a big asset.
Exactly. And, speaking of that, Jake Myers had a very hot May. But man, he has cooled off in June. I'm looking at his main numbers. He is actually, he's 2 for 19 in June. He's hitting 105. So I think someone like Jake Myers is a guy that they need to stay hot, because every night you can't have Kyle Tucker, because right now he's not on the IL, but he's resting. He fouled a ball off of his front shin.
He had a homer off his shin. Yeah.
When I watched the replay, you could hear the F-bomb. You could hear it was, and
he went down like a sack of potatoes. I mean, that really hurt. The problem with that is it's not just that type of contusion, that type of bruise, it lingers.
Really?
He may be fine, and he should be fine here pretty soon.
Right.
But you know what? It's going to be Christmas, and he's going to be able to poke that foot, poke that ankle, and it's still going to be sore. These things do not go. I still have a divot on my right shin from where a ball hit me back when I was with Atlanta in the early 90s.
Dang.
The guy just hit a line drive off my shin. Luckily, it went straight to the third baseman. It was a 1-5-3 put out. Here's what I tell everybody: the bruises heal, outs are forever.
That's right. That's funny. Oh man, that's hilarious. I love that. Wow, man. You still have we had a guy, Mike, when I was playing baseball, we had one of the best hitters in our league, a guy named Brian Gottslick. My dad had drafted him, and he was going up against Ryan Lozado. Funny thing is, a friend of mine that I now have in Pearland is best friends with Ryan Lozado, and we just made that connection last year. But Ryan was throwing, and Ryan threw the ball. And, this is aluminum bats, and this is like 14, 15-year-old. And Brian Gottslick hit a screaming line drive up the middle. Well, Lozado puts his glove up, and we hear this pop, and we're like, yeah, good catch. And all of a sudden, his hands drop, and the ball's on his face and literally falls off of his face, and then he collapses, shattered his jaw. I mean, you want to talk about baseball can be dangerous, and I mean, just in a moment's notice. And so, when I thought it was admirable that Tucker tried to walk back to the batter's box, and
he tried to jog, which was probably a good thing, because he was walking.
He was.
But as soon as he took one step, he said, "No, I'm good for today. I'm out."
And so, this third game, they didn't have all their horses they had their horses in the barn and not necessarily on the field.
Right.
And so this is one of those games where you're like, you know what? We're banged up. We got 2 of the 3. If we win, great. If not, it's not that big of a deal. But I do want to talk to you about this for a couple minutes before we go, and maybe we can talk about the rotation later. But I'm looking at the odds for the AL MVP race right now.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 leaders are Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, both New York Yankees.
Crazy.
And then you have Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr. Those are both plus 600, plus 700. And the odds makers say Kyle Tucker is plus 1,200. Corey Seager's right behind him, but Corey Seager went out of the game with a hamstring injury today, which is interesting. And then Jose Altuve is in there too. He's like in the top 10. But someone who I think is going to sneak up into this conversation is Jose Ramirez, because he is having quite the season. Is it too early for us to say that Aaron Judge is the clear leader for AL MVP? I mean, he is making him and Juan Soto in that lineup together is quite damaging for opposing pitchers.
It's entirely too early. I mean, we're not, we're just, what are we, right out of the third marker?
Yeah.
Somewhere right in there.
True.
I mean, yeah, you still have most of the season left, but you know what's incredible is go back and look at the 2 seasons that Soto and Aaron Judge are having. Soto has been consistent all year long. He started in Houston. He lit up Houston in the very first series.
I was there.
He hasn't let up since. Now, Aaron Judge didn't do anything in April.
Right.
I mean, I think he was hitting below 200 right at the beginning of May. His April has been historic. He's leading Major League Baseball in home runs now with like 21 or 22.
Yes.
It's all done in May. I mean, he had an OPS. I think it was below 600 at one point. And now it's well over 1,000. You knew he was going to get hot. He's one of the best players in the sport. He's one of the best power hitters in the sport. And dude found his stroke. There's no doubt about that. But, those 2 guys, well, to tell you the truth, it's not even Judge. Soto is the MVP because we've seen what Judge can do. Okay. But he can't do it by himself. He did that a couple years ago.
True.
But Soto has just been an absolute beast, a thorn in everyone's side. But the 2 of them together, I think that's a big reason why I don't know if the Yankees are really going to back off this year.
Yeah. I mean, Juan Soto, you talk about him, 290 in April, 296 in May, 462 in June so far. Now, you want to hear Aaron Judge's June so far?
Throw it out there.
Aaron Judge's June plays out like this right now: 583. He is 7 for 12. He's got a home run, a double, and a triple.
Read off his May. Do you have his May stats in front of you?
Yeah. So May, he hit 361. He hit 14 home runs, 35 hits. So half of his hits were home runs, 12 doubles. They were basically all extra base hits.
Yeah. What was his OPS?
His OPS was 1397.
There you go.
22, but get this, 22 walks in May, 21 walks in April. He has, of course, this is so early. It's so stupid looking at it now. 1789 OPS. I mean, his slugging percentage is over 1,000. His on base percentage is 70.70. So, I mean, it is crazy. Now, at some point, you think the Yankees will find their level, but the thing is, they haven't. And their pitching is good, but they don't have Garrett Cole right now.
He's on the way back. He has actually started a rehab assignment.
I know.
So that means they're within a few weeks of getting. And the thing is, the guy that replaced him, Hill, has been spectacular.
Yeah.
Now, he would be the guy you say, okay, he's the young guy. He's the one that's coming out. He ain't coming out. He's as good as anybody in the sport right now. So it looks like, the Yankees, with how well they've played this year, the rich are getting richer. But again, there's still a lot of baseball to be played. At some point, they're going to cool off. We'll just see how cool they get.
Well, it's funny. On his neck, I think it says "God bless me." I think that's what it says.
Is that what it says?
I think it's what is. But he is 8-1. He is 8-1 this year.
But it's not smoke and mirrors.
No,
he is filthy.
Yeah. No, I've
big time power arm. He throws strikes. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I don't know how he wasn't in the rotation to start off with. That was the, the reason he was there was because Garrett Cole went down. But I was like, well, you wanted this dude getting people out in AAA? You crazy?
He's better than Nasty Nestor,
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah. So, anyways, this has been another great show. I think we got a lot to look forward to. I think June things can look up for the Houston Astros. I think they can go to LA against the Anaheim Angels and take care of that series. I think they sweep that series. I think they take 2 of 3 from San Fran. The Giants are kind of up and down. They're not consistent. But, and one more thing I want to talk to you about. Something I saw. Have you seen the theory about why Cleveland's hitting so many home runs this year? Have you seen what they've done to their stadium?
I have not.
So they apparently had these large signs out in left field, and they were just, there was like 3 or 4 of them. They removed them and they've opened it up, and they say it's almost created like a wind tunnel. And they showed a home run that Jose Ramirez hit, right? It barely went over the right center field wall. Last year, Bobby Witt Jr. hit a ball like 10 miles an hour faster exit velocity, and it dropped 31 feet before the wall when those things were up. So there's some interesting things going on in Cleveland. They're wondering if
the good, you go, well, that's cheat. That's not cheating because both teams get to play there.
That's right.
Here's an interesting tidbit that you probably don't know about Fenway Park.
Okay.
So Fenway Park originally did not have that big, the big press box and the big restaurant behind it.
Okay.
There wasn't a second deck. And players, now this is Fenway Park, okay, with the short porch to the left,
right?
The green monster. It's a hitter's dream. They were complaining that when they put that big press box up and the stadium, all the glass behind it knocked 15 feet off of the travel of the ball. So what does that mean? That means you really couldn't pitch at Fenway Park before they did that.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a little Cliff Clavin. You know that.
Interesting.
Your life is not any better.
Exactly. Exactly. And, it's just like Jose Cruz told me one time, if he would have hit Minute Maid Park, he would have had a lot more home runs, my friend. I would have had a lot more. That's what he said.
Well, I remember the Astrodome. The Astrodome was a big ballpark.
Did you love pitching there as a pitcher because you just knew the ball would stay in the park? Or,
well, listen, every organization has a certain aura about how they go about their business offensively.
Right.
And the Astros have always been a free swinging club. So no, I didn't. Yeah, I liked pitching at the Astrodome, but I liked pitching against the Astros anyways because they would swing the bat. You get behind in the count, you can still make a pitch because they were going to swing. There's other organizations that are not known for that.
Right.
And they were, the most difficult hitter I had in my career was actually Bobby Abreu. Left on left. I should own him. Dude hit almost 5 bills off me. Okay. Wow. He walked a bunch of times. I mean, it was just, my biggest problem was the dude would stand up there and take.
Wow.
And I wouldn't be able to get an idea what he was looking. I throw a fastball right down the middle, and he would take like he didn't even want to look at it. I'm like, okay, is he trying to bait me into another fastball? Is he sitting on breaking ball? I'm ahead in the count, and I'm the one that's guessing. So
it's funny, and I will wrap it up on this. But I remember talking to Bill Hall, former Angels pitcher. He actually has a couple records, pitched in the 60s and 70s. He was the father of one of our former neighbors where we used to live. And I got to talk to him, and he was telling me about going up. He actually got to swing a bat against Sandy Koufax. And he said, I was thinking about cussing out Sandy Koufax, but I was so frustrated with the stuff he was working on new pitches in spring training. But he said, and he told me, he was like, Mickey Mantle only got 1 hit off of him. And he said, I had his number. And he said, back in the day, we talked crap to each other.
Yeah.
He was like, he was cussing at me. I was cussing at him. I was like, let's go. And he goes, we just let our play do the talking. But it's really cool. Thanks for sharing that experience.
No, I could understand that. I mean, some of the, another guy that I really didn't mind pitching against was Tony Gwynn. And I had a lot of success against Tony.
Really?
And yeah, I think he got 1 hit, and it was like the last time I faced him, he's like 1 for 10 or 1 for 11. But Tony was the consummate batting champion because he wasn't going to walk. Tony wanted to hit. So again, same thing. You got behind in the count, you can still make a pitch because Tony wasn't going to walk. But yeah, the big name guys, I didn't really have all that much trouble with. It was the Bobby Abreu's of the world. Those are the ones that really was a thorn.
Well, that's impressive because Tony Gwynn has an amazing average against a Greg Maddux and some pretty big name pitchers.
I did have left on left, but with Tony, that didn't really matter.
Yeah, true. Well, hey, Mike, thanks for taking us down memory lane a little bit. I love that. We're gonna have to maybe dive into some of this stuff because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of memories you got that I think our fans would love to hear.
I have a lot of BS if you want to.
Dude, let's do it. BS sessions with Mike and Brett. We could do it.
Swinging the BS.
That's right. Well, hey, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in to our latest edition of Back to the Bullpen. Man, we've had a blast doing it. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. He is Mike Stanton, and we are Back to the Bullpen. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you